Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Nile and Gerry Tea Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Magic the Gathering, the competitive scene, how to be a good person, the ethics within it, all of that good stuff. I am your host, Nile Joan Rivers. Joined with me, as always, Jerry Thompson. Jerry, how you doing?
I'm sleepy as per usual. The Adderall hasn't hit yet, and we are up bright and early at noon my time. So, it's rough out here.
We are up early at 9 a.m. my time. I am also quite sleepy. Variance has not kicked in yet. That's so funny though. Okay, everyone, comment down below the timestamp where you think Jerry's Adderall kicked in and the timestamp where you think Nile's Variance kicked in. We'll see if you can tell just based on vibes and energy.
Yeah, that's a really fun game, actually.
Yeah, so, make your guesses. Price is Right rules, closest without going over. But we've got a real fun one in store for this morning. We are up early to talk about something that people talk about a lot, which is Magic dying? Is it being killed? Is it going away? Is it being destroyed? And who's destroying it?
For the last 30 years, yes.
For 30 years, people have been saying it's dead, it's over. It's over. And yet it persists.
I mean, it's one of those weird things where, I have been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. I am a Magic boomer. I think I got, 27 years of the 32 or whatever. Like it's a pretty good chunk. Mm-hmm. And certainly Magic itself has not come close to dying, but the thing is that there are definitely parts of it that have died. Like it has become a much different beast than it was before. And I think that is just kind of part of life. Like things rarely stay exactly the same and last forever. Like things are always growing and changing. And that makes me very sad, honestly. And sometimes I have trouble dealing with that, but that is the reality of most situations. And I feel like we have to be a little bit better at coming to terms with that.
Yeah, I think it is sad, and I think it is valid and fair and totally reasonable for you to feel sad about it. And I think it's a bit of like a Ship of Theseus thing where it's like, is Magic dead? Well, we just had the best-selling set of all time. So in a very technical, legal sense, no. Magic is, if anything, thriving. However, is the Magic that just had the best-selling set of all time, which Jerry has bought multiple collector booster boxes of.
Hey. We don't have to throw me under the bus. I understand I'm part of the problem. This is not the first time I bought a bunch of collector boosters, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, I am part of the problem.
Yeah, but like that's the thing, right? Is like the Magic that you were like most in love with is just like not there anymore. Like Magic as a game is still there, but now it's like this new different thing. And it's like it's hard to love the new different thing as much as you loved the old thing, but there are still parts of it you love. And so I feel like I am often in a very similar boat where I'm like, I fundamentally don't like what's happening with like Universes Beyond. And if you were like a genie and you said, hey, I can, for one of your wishes, make it to where Universes Beyond is not a thing, it was never a thing, and will never be a thing, I would take that. But also, when I see Final Fantasy X on Magic cards, I go, yippee! Like I don't know. It feels like such a complicated relationship between me and these cards.
In the other room, I also have a bunch of Final Fantasy trading card game cards, and unfortunately, like that game has some cool things going for it, but it is just not as good of a game as Magic. I am sorry, Final Fantasy TCG fans, of which there are tens of you, but yeah, I like the IP. I like the art. I like seeing it being represented places. I do not like the bastardization of both of them, but it's just like, does a Final Fantasy character make for a good Magic card? Not always. Does a Magic card make for a good representation of a Final Fantasy character, not always, right? So there are some things that are hits and misses, but yeah, I like them both, and I guess they got my ass.
Yeah, well, like that's what's really weird about Universes Beyond is there's so many times where they release a set, Fallout, Doctor Who, Assassin's Creed, and I am just like, I could not care less about this set. And in fact, I care so little about it that any time that I am going to be forced to buy cards from this set for like modern or something, I'm going to be annoyed. You know, I'm just going to be, there should be some part of me that's like, I don't give a shit about Doctor Who. You know, why do I have to put a guy in my deck whose name is like Simon? You know, like why is my deck like Yawgmoth, Thrawn Praetor, Young Wolf, Simon? You know, like it annoys me. But then they release one that I like and I'm like, oh, yippee, yippee. But when they release normal in-universe sets, even the ones that I'm less interested in, it's like I'm never as disinterested as I am with a, you know, Assassin's Creed set. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there are some examples, I think, like Ether Drift and Outlaws were both hard misses for me. Like those might as well have been Fallout sets for as much as I was excited for them or liked them, but a lot of that is very jumping the sharky in both different directions. So that's kind of why. But again, I'm old. I'm a boomer. I don't like change. It's weird that you're putting cowboys in my Magic the Gathering thing, but maybe some people liked it. I don't know. If they did, good. It is probably just good for them to try stuff, especially it's not like we're doing a block of cowboys or whatever.
Jerry, you are co-hosting a podcast with a yeehaw bitch. I loved OTJ.
See, you can say yeehaw and even say yeehaw unironically, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are a cowboy enjoyer, you know? I think it's unreasonable for me to make that assumption. That's all.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, I'm a cowboy enjoyer. I'm a yeehaw bitch. It's in my blood. I was super stoked about OTJ. Now, that being said, I do think I wanted more from it than what we got. It kind of feels like with all of the Jump the Shark sets, they both managed to go too far and not far enough, you know? Like they go too far in the sense that like people like you are like, I don't want cowboys at all. And they don't go far enough where people like me, where I'm like, if we're doing cowboys, let's fucking do cowboys, you know, like let's fucking go for it. And they're like, well, we don't want to go that far. And it's like, okay, well then who did we land on? Who are these people that are like, I like cowboys a little bit, but I don't like really want to fuck with them.
I like the occasional cowboy, you know, but like I'm not like a cowboy main. What
loves cows, hates boys. Yeah, I don't know.
No,
I don't know. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It is always more disappointing to me when a Universes Beyond set misses than when a in-universe set misses. And I don't really know why.
I think because there's a higher expectation on those things. It's like, oh, if you're going to do this, you better goddamn do it well and do it right. And at least make it so that it is appreciated by the folks you think are going to want it, you know, like get the Assassin's Creed people into Magic or get the Fallout people into Magic. And if they're doing a bad job of it, it's like, what's the point of this slop? What are we even doing this for? Like if the game grows and that is the end result of all of this stuff, then yeah, sure. I think that it is probably worth it overall. Again, I think bigger community for us is just a good thing, period.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. More people playing Magic should be good for Magic. And as mentioned, you know, the game that you fell in love with, the game that I fell in love with, it's not really there anymore. Like it's so different as to more or less just be like a new thing. And I think it's fine to feel grief about that and to mourn the loss of that. What I think is less fine and something that I think is really common among people who feel this grief is where they direct their anger about how they feel about this, which almost always seems to fall on the shoulders of commander players at large.
Oh, I was going to say women. Seems like it's y'all's fault. I don't know. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, well, I think, we're just based on numbers of women who I've seen get interested in and play Magic based on a set. I'd say the big three are the ones we're responsible for: Lord of the Rings, Bloomborough, and Final Fantasy.
Yeah, those
are for the girls.
Those are kind of bangers.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm finding it very difficult to be disparaging towards women right now.
Ah, damn, that sucks. I was gonna have such a good little sound bite, but no.
Yeah, just add it to the vault, the Gerry blackmail vault.
Comment down below if you'd like us to release the vault.
No, you gotta put that up for auction at least,
Oh, you're right. Auction down below if you'd like to pay for the Gerry vault.
Yeah, bid in the comments.
Yeah, highest bid in the comments wins. We will be pursuing you for the money. This is a legal transaction.
Yep.
But yeah, it is so often just like blamed on commander players, and I kind of get how they get to this conclusion, but I think it's very flawed. Which is, Magic has obviously changed, and also Magic is obviously catering to commander more than it ever has been. Like there are just demonstrable things. I mean, even if you just look at the number of legendary creatures over time, right? Like if you just look at it like block by block, it'll be like 12 legendary creatures, 15 legendary creatures. And we're talking about like a whole, like over like multiple sets, it'll be so sparse. And then you'll get into modern sets and it'll be like 90 legendary creatures. Final Fantasy, between the main set and the commander specific version of the set, has something like 164 legends.
Yeah, I was just gonna look it up. I was curious.
I think that number's right, but you can check me on it.
I don't even know how I would go about finding this, but yeah,
you would go to scryfall.com, you would type set:fin, or, well, this would be in parentheses, set:fin, or set:fic in parentheses, type :legendary, type :creature.
99.
Did you add the commander one too?
No, this is just the main set.
Okay, yeah. 99 in the main set. I think there's set type legendary type creature. I was so right. It's 164 if you include the commander ones.
Damn. I guess this is counting Ragnarok, which that's not really a new card, but
Sure.
Oh, it's also counting the welcome starter pack thing. But whatever,
Yeah, it's still just like a lot. It's yeah. Even if we knock 20 off of it, even if we say in the main set alone there's 79 legendaries, that's absurd, right? That's like very clearly. I mean, part of it's because it's Final Fantasy, and it's like, we're making a bunch of cards of guys who there's only one of this guy, But even if you look at non-Final Fantasy.
Why are the sagas not legendary?
Yeah, well, I kind of feel like there's in-universe explanation for that, because at least in Final Fantasy X, the sagas aren't unique. Like, they're not legendary. There's
like multiple Shivas?
Yeah. In fact, there's a summoner who, because there's multiple summoners in the story of Final Fantasy X, and they're like all on this pilgrimage. And there's one in particular who she is like always like one ahead of you, and you'll encounter her over and over on your path, and you'll fight her, and she's always like busting out the summon that you don't have yet. And you're like, ooh, I'm about to get Ixion, But, she will also have Shiva when you have Shiva. It's something to do with like, the summons are like, I don't know, just like so avatars of the faith or whatever.
Yeah, so I guess Shiva is maybe technically legendary, but you are not summoning her directly, but
right,
maybe
you're
just
summoning
like a manifestation.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. But even if you're like, well, Nile, those are all Final Fantasy people, whatever. Dominaria United, OTJ, Ether Drift, all of these sets just have absurd numbers of legendaries compared to older sets. And whether or not the quantity of legendaries makes the game better or worse, I don't think matters. Because I think it's just a clear indicator that, oh, we have observed that this demographic needs this kind of card. We're going to make more of them. It's obviously catered to Commander players. And you also see a increase of cards with, let's call it Commander text, where instead of saying, target opponent or whatever, or defending player, it'll say each opponent and, each player. And
which we talked about last week with the Zulaport Cutthroat in Yogg, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's Commander text, but then it ends up being relevant for, granted, the One Ring, which is another kind of universes beyond slop Commander whatever thing. But it's like, oh, like the fact that this text is different is good in competitive constructed.
Yeah, and I think that is a thing that like people who are really feeling the grief of this and just have a real like blind rage about Commander, I think that's a thing they kind of miss, is that there are ways that the design of these things succeed. And there are times when cards get Commander text and it's either, just entirely inconsequential to constructed, or it is beneficial for constructed, like the Zulaport Cutthroat that you're talking about, or it's just a thing you don't even think of as being a Commander card, like I don't think anybody who plays constructed thinks of like Gix as a Commander card, but it is.
Yeah.
It's got Commander text. I don't know that anyone playing constructed thinks of Adeline as a Commander card, but it is. In fact, it's so much stronger in Commander, like oppressively way more stronger in Commander than it is in 1v1. And it's a fucking house in 1v1,
Yeah. Yo, check this out. I did a little more of a deep dive. Thing that I hadn't really realized because I've never flipped one of these cards in my life, but the summons from FF16, Clive, Jill, Joshua, Dion, the backside where they transform into a saga is legendary. Also, Terra, when she transforms, is legendary. So, okay, I take it back.
Yeah.
I take it back. Actually good flavor.
Yeah. They did it. I mean, the flavor for the Final Fantasy set, most of it hits pretty well. It's clearly a labor of love.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I have some nitpicks. I have some gripes. That'll be.
I know you have some nitpicks, but yes, yeah. So there are ways that the Commander text and the servicing the Commander demographic can work and be designed well and be designed in a way where it. Oh well, my key light just died, so we just got a little moodier. Be designed in ways that are satisfying for everybody.
Should I join you? I'll also
join me. We'll go movie style.
We'll talk about how magic is dying.
Just like the key light attached to my camera, so too is magic dying. But yeah, if it's not a thing where like fundamentally the design of these cards does not work, then what is it? And this is my theory. This is what I propose for this. I think it is less so about Commander being the highlight of Magic and more so about the absurd fucking release pipeline that this game has subjected itself to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd how many cards we are adding, how many game pieces we are adding, and how small the teams are. Like, and when I say how small the teams are, I mean how small the teams are of people making this game. Like WotC, if you saw how many game pieces were being added to this game constantly, and I asked you, how many people do you think design these cards? You'd probably be like hundreds. Like it's got to be so fucking many. And then if I was like, probably closer to like dozens, you'd be like, what the hell? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah. Also, like, I'll take the under on multiple dozens of people, like a dozen. And some change between design and development.
I don't know that we're getting to 2 dozen.
No.
Yeah. It's it's staggering how understaffed they are for what they're doing. And it's coming out so fast, right? Like it's happening so quickly. Jerry, I have had access to the Final Fantasy file for months. I've been looking at all the cards for months. I played pre-release last weekend. Multiple times I'd see a card played where I was like, I've never seen this fucking card in my life. What is this? Like it was in the file. It's just, there's so much, like it's impossible to keep up with. Like today is the official release of Final Fantasy or whatever. Or maybe yesterday was, whatever. But we've had previews for so long. It's just been like bam, 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 bam. And then we're just like immediately gonna get into, and now it's Edge of Eternity's time. Like it's just nonstop.
There are Spider-Man cards that have been previewed already.
Oh, true. Yeah, there's Spider-Man bullshit going on before Final Fantasy's even out. I mean, I remember, I think the Spider-Man cards were previewed before Tarkir was fully out.
Correct.
That's insane. Those cards don't exist yet. We had a whole set. Tarkir was a whole set that feels like it didn't even exist.
Yeah, but it was just IGN wanted to do some article or whatever,
Oh my God. It's such an untenable pace. And I think the thing we should be more concerned about is this pace of release, because that's how we get cards like Nadu. And we know for a fact this is how we got Nadu, because they fucking told us. But how they told us, it triggered people's like sleeper cell activation phrase, because they were like, oh, we had Nadu like this, and then we thought it'd be better in Commander to change it to this, and we changed it last minute and didn't test it, and oopsies, and
people
everyone
like,
saw that. Yeah, they're like, Commander did it. And it's like, it doesn't matter who they did it for. It does not matter who they did. It matters that they did it last fucking minute and we're just like, ship it. Like that. That's who you should be mad at.
Yeah, don't have time, don't have enough people. The reason the release schedule is so fast paced is to make money. It's like they've realized they can sell 6 sets a year or whatever, in addition to all the other nonsense they have going on, secret layers and whatnot. And it's less Commander players, I think, and maybe more capitalism, maybe a hot take,
Yeah, no, it is, because like you said, like imagine you are a Hasbro CEO, shareholder, whatever, and you know nothing about Magic the Gathering. You don't care about it. You don't give a shit about it. All you know about it is the line item on the like spreadsheet that you get every month or whatever. When you see, oh yeah, we can print 6 sets a year and make more money. We can print stuff like Final Fantasy and make the most money we've ever made. Do that. And then if someone from WotC comes to you and it's like, hey, yes, we can, but it is, untenable for our designers, and it is like hurting our game, and it is making our product ultimately worse. And you're like, well, we've been making a lot of money for a few years doing it, so we're going to keep doing it. I don't give a shit how fun the game is. Like clearly people like it because they're paying for it. Of course they would keep doing that. Of course they would. You're never going to convince that person, hey, let us make a more like artisanal game. Like that ship has fucking sailed.
Yeah, and I even think part of that conversation could be like, well, okay, you want us to do 50% more work year over year, and that also probably isn't the cap if we're being honest. So maybe we should hire some new people, maybe hire just more people in general. And then it's just like, no, because I feel like that would cost us money, and then it's like, what's the point? What are we even doing here? So
yeah. Well, it's about like just squeezing every fucking ounce out of the like nearly 24 people you have and just maximize, because they hired another 24 people. That could be as much as like 0.1% of the profit.
Oh yeah. And actually better yet, here's a great idea. Is let's lay off some people.
There we go. That ups the profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no detrimental effects of that.
None that we can see.
None that we could
about.
see. Number just go up. Just go up.
Exactly.
Yeah, bigger
Spreadsheet.
number, better person. Yeah.
Add another digit. Let's go.
Yeah. So that is, to me, the villain of Magic's death. The one holding the knife is not Commander players. It is, like you said, capitalism. But I guess the question, if it is a thing of capitalism, is what do you do about that? Like, if you love Magic, you've accepted that it's dying. Maybe you've even accepted that it's not a Commander player's fault that it's dying. What do you do? Do you stop playing Magic? Do you just give up on it entirely? Do you just succumb and just be like, okay, I will bow down before Spider-Man and Final Fantasy?
I will start looking up what the hell is a game changer anyway? What is on that list? No, I ain't doing that. Real talk.
I will learn what brackets are.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh god. I'll start learning how to talk to people and do CEDH politics.
Oh, CEDH politics. What a silly format. It's so funny to me. You and I have, a podcast that I like to jokingly call a drama podcast. It's not really at all a drama podcast. I mean, we talk about shit when it happens, but also I think mostly we just talk about like it is closer, I think, to being like a Magic the Gathering philosophy podcast than a drama podcast, but still a drama podcast. And when there's drama, we're going to talk about it. That being said, there's always so much CEDH drama.
Yeah, it's
and
wild.
all the time people will tag me in it and be like, is this going to show up on the podcast? And every time I'm like, no, because we don't give a shit.
You know what? I'm not going to blame the Commander players anymore. I will blame the CEDH players, however.
Yeah, take that.
And I don't know. I have at least one friend who plays a little bit, a decent amount, maybe not as much as he would want to or whatever, but I don't blame him for it. Mm-hmm. He's just trying to game in whatever way he can and is a boomer like myself and everything. And I do think that is what people do, is like you have to find a way to enjoy the thing that you love, even though that it is different. And when people ask me what my favorite format is, this has been the answer for roughly like the last 10 years is I would say extended circa 2002, which is true. It was, I think, A, a good format, but B, very nostalgic, like where I, started my grinding journey or whatever. And so, yeah, I got a lot of love for it. And I don't think Magic is ever going to get back to that point. It's just not very possible. So then what do you do when you feel like you effectively peaked in high school or whatever? It's just like, just keep existing, throw your hands up, try and find something else. But like, I mean, what the hell else is there? I'm going to start playing like the One Piece card game where I feel like that there are already enough things that sort of lead me to believe that they are also being influenced by capitalism and whatnot. So it's just like, this is just going to be a problem no matter where you go. It's not like, maybe you get the moral victory, I guess, for leaving Magic when you think things have gone too far or whatever. They have jumped too many sharks at this point. But maybe I'll go do something else or whatever. But no, I like it here still. I can find my own way to exist here and carve out my own little niche.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar boat. And I think like, there is a level of it, I think, to like people like you and I are just kind of tied to the train a little bit. You know what I mean? Like we are kind of just hitched here. I mean, not severely, like we certainly could just be like, actually that's enough and just be done. But like, we're so entrenched and so enfranchised in this game that there is just a level of like, well, it just makes more sense to accept it. And I have also found that this, for me, I kind of accepted Universes Beyond being Universes Beyond when Transformers happened. That to me was enough to be like, oh, okay, this is what we do now. I get it.
Yep.
I understand. Because it was just so wildly outside the scope of what Magic is that I was just like, okay, I get it.
So
I understand.
Wildly outside the scope, yes. but also another Hasbro property.
Sure.
And so that one I think kind of gave me pause because it's like, is just making us do this or what's the deal, you know? And it, like, yeah, maybe there was some amount of that, but like, yeah, realistically, it should have been apparent at that point. It's like, well, if they could do Transformers, like clearly they're gonna shop it out to other places and see what they can do.
Right. Yeah. So I accepted it, and I think with accepting it came like, I don't know, just like a calm of being like, okay, I will just play the cards that I need to play, and if it feels weird, it's gonna feel weird, but whatever. You know, like I can exist in this game with these cards, and I will, you know, just be less excited than I'd be if it's like Lorwyn, you know. But I still fundamentally really fuck with the game. Like I really like Magic, and I really like it as a rules engine. I like the game pieces. I like the interactions. I like the way it plays. I like so much about it that I'm kind of willing to just accept all of these things. However, it does feel like I am just kind of watching the light leave its eyes like day after day. You know what I mean? Like I am just, it's like, it's becoming such a like, so unfamiliar to me.
Yeah.
That like we're getting to the point where like the ship of Theseus, we've moved enough planks that I'm like, I don't really know this ship, you know? And like I know that I still like it, but it's just, I don't know, the spark, the thing that really got me into it, you know, the thing that really made me fall in love with it, that just feels like it's fading.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I think Legacy is actually a good example of this, famous casual format Legacy, where there are some things that remain the same. Like there are a lot of decks that play like Brainstorm Days, Force of Will, etc. But then the rest of the cards in these decks is often just like Modern Horizons slop, kind of. Mm-hmm. It's just, it feels familiar. You know, I'm still doing my cantrippy thing. I'm playing a threat, backing it up with Force of Will, disrupting you a little bit. But it's just like, why am I killing you with like Billy Bob or whatever the hell this thing is, you know?
Yeah.
Like Steve from Minecraft is your ass.
Oh, it's just not the same. But then it becomes a question of, do I try to preserve that? You know, like something I've talked about doing for a long time but never have done is I really loved Standard when Grixis midrange was the hot shit, and it was like Fable the Mirror Breaker, Reckoner, Bankbuster. Yeah.
Corpse Appraiser.
Corpse Appraiser, Blood Tithe Harvester, and then it had like 3 black pips. Invoke Despair.
Yeah. And too good.
Yeah. Invoke Despair, Fable, Bankbuster, all gone. I loved that so much, and I thought it was so fun. And I loved the mirror. I loved playing Grixis mid mirrors more than anything. I did it constantly. It's like maybe the most I've ever played Magic was when that was Standard. And I've talked a lot about wanting to build basically just like a battle box of the Grixis mid decks, and then also like every deck that was competitively viable at the time. And then just be able to sit down with people and be like, do you want to play the mirror? Do you want to try and beat Grixis mid with one of these other decks? You know, like whatever. Just to kind of preserve that experience. And you can do things like that with Magic, right? Like you can build cubes, you can build little battle boxes. I've made so many totally different games using Magic as like a base for a rules engine and game pieces. You can do so much with it, but does that, in your opinion, really still preserve that thing that has kind of like been lost to time?
I think it does. The problem is that you, or at least I have, like run into issues with like people who are willing to engage with you in that aspect, because it is really difficult to find someone who is just as far off it as you are a lot of the time and in exactly the same space. You know, it's like, I'm sure that my friends would indulge me like a couple times, but they are not going to have that same nostalgic feeling that I will necessarily. And it's just like, all right, maybe we do this a handful of times and then they're just done. And then I just wasted my time kind of building this thing and putting it together. Or I just have to like keep doing it. I just have to keep offering them an experience in a box that I know that maybe we do 5 times and then never again. I don't know. Maybe that's good enough. Maybe that works. I don't really have the time or the patience to do that repeatedly, but I feel like if you're in a place where you have a bunch of friends who are willing to do stuff like that, then awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I do think you have to kind of capture lightning in a bottle if that's your goal, is to preserve and capture those experiences. Because like you said, if I build this Grixis mid box, it's not really going to recreate the experience that I'm wanting, which is why I haven't built it, because I was obsessed with that era of standard. Most people hated it.
Yeah.
I remember people bitching constantly. I mean, there's a reason every relevant card in that deck got banned, right? Like it was an oppressive deck. It was very strong, very consistent, just dominated. And people didn't like playing it. People didn't like playing against it. If you weren't a little sicko like me, you didn't like it. So what happens, right? Like I build it, like you said, I get friends to indulge with it, but like I'm going into it with like, I've played like 1,000 hours of this deck versus every deck in this box. And you're going to sit down and be like, I cast Fable or whatever. It's just, it will not be the same or feel the same as it felt in the time that I was playing it and loving it. And there's no way to capture that unless I just happen to have a group of like 8 friends who all felt exactly the same as I did. And we were like, yeah, let's meet up once a week and just jam Grixis mid mirrors. And that will be fun. And that would be sick. But that's like impossible. It's just never going to happen.
I feel like because Magic is a stupid 2-player game, we have to like clone ourselves, That's like the only way that we're gonna find someone who would like appreciate the same nostalgic experience as much as we would, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like the experience is also just built around people at the time being invested in that time, like people being invested in that current standard meta and trying earnestly to beat it and to beat you. And you can't really like reestablish that outside of the sort of ecosystem that it built it. I mean, you can build like a vintage cube. You can build a cube from only the Magic that you like. You can build cool experiences with the game and its pieces for sure. But I don't think you can really accurately capture and preserve the experiences that you are reminiscent of.
Yeah, you're right that the drive that people had to play that sort of standard format, and the thing that made it get to the point where it was like the Pro Tour aspirational type of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you could find some amount of those players who are going to be willing to play against you or whatever, and maybe would even enjoy it, but I don't know. You gotta have some stakes on the line. And like, what are you gonna do? Like, could play for money or like prize possessions or whatever. But it's all kind of weird. You have to find people with like the exact same kind of incentives. I do think that in lieu of just playing for hundos, which I am pretty happy to do in most formats, you can just play for kind of like ridiculous things. Like, for example, we didn't play for this, but a friend of mine, Jason Ford, has the rights to name my firstborn child. He has this in writing.
What was this decided over?
This was him borrowing our mutual acquaintance, let's say, a Bayou, and me giving that kid the Bayou back, and then it magically disappearing. I think he sold it for weed money, is my best guess. Mm-hmm. But then I was the person, I think, who was like using it. So like I was responsible for it, which, okay, I kind of get. And he was like, you know what? You don't have to replace it. But just sign this piece of paper for me. Back then the Bayou was like $80 or something, it was like decent money, but not not what it is now.
Oh, that's really fucking funny.
People need to play for stuff like that, or it's just like,
real stakes.
A friend of mine just told me a story recently about how he lives in Canada, and a guy in Australia owns his cat because they were just like flipping coins for drinks at the bar one night. Like random Australian Magic players came to visit in Canada. And my friend Jeff just got hard stuck, like multiple hundreds of dollars, just lost every time. And then the guy was just like, okay, let's flip for it. You get unstuck completely, but if I win, I get to own your cat. And then he lost again.
That's so good.
So then occasionally he just gets messages from this guy in Australia, like, how's my cat doing?
I would never take that coin flip. And
that's the thing. It's harmless. Right?
Because I know it's harmless, but I couldn't look Mitzi in the eyes.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But yeah, I love absurd bet. The more absurd a bet is, the more likely I'm going to be like, yeah, let's do it. Like if you come up to me and you're like, hey, let's bet $5 on a coin flip, I'll say no. If you come up to me and you say, hey, let's bet $500 on a coin flip, I'm going to be like, oh, hold on. Hold on.
Now we're talking.
This is just psychotic enough. Sensible bets, uninteresting, boring, insane bets. Hold on.
Well, the reason this is kind of the reason why I bought the first collector booster box is because me and my friend have just been flipping for boxes effectively, and I am stuck into him bad. At the RC in Charlotte, he needed a strict serenade for his breach sideboard. And he was like, but I don't want to buy a box of MH2. And I was like, well, let's each go halfsies, and then we'll each open half. We'll compare who opened the most value, and whoever opened the most value scoops the entire box.
That's so sick. Oh, I'm down to do that anytime.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's go. Yeah, I'm about to get unstuck through Nile. Come on.
Oh,
yeah, save that ambassador product.
Oh, God. That's so good. Wow. What a fun game.
It's so sick.
I love that. I'm going to tell that to my friends and get them to do it with me.
In Hartford, he didn't make day 2, or he just like dropped at some point or whatever. And I was like, let's flip for a box. And then we did. And then I lost again. So I was like, let's run it back. So we did. I finally won one. I was down 0-3.
See, you could still have fun experiences with Magic with any set.
Yeah, just $500 a pop. That's all it takes.
Holy shit. That's so good. Oh, I want to do that so bad. That's so bad. That sounds so fun.
So then I bought a box to flip with Michael, and then I bought another box to open with my friends back home. But then opening the box with Michael was so much fun that it was just calling to me.
Yeah.
And then was it fairy or goblin?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me in goblin mode, just opening the box by myself. I was not very fairy in that moment.
Yeah. But I think to put a little capstone on this whole concept, I think the big thing you have to remember about Magic is it is and has always been and will always be a for-profit game. Even decades before we had a hint of Universes Beyond, the game was always about making money. Right? Like the game was always about seeking profit. Like it is a product. It is a product that is sold to you. I mean, this is a big reason why they sell them in packs of random cards and not, go online and buy exactly the cards you want at a flat rate.
The living card game experience is not very fun, let me tell you.
Yeah. It's so common in especially competitive scenes for people to, especially after being frustrated by a bit of variance or whatever, to think that what they want is a game devoid of that, and to think that a game is better without it, and an experience is better without it. You see this in all sorts of things. Like it was really common when I was big in the fighting game community that people would complain about anything having to do with variance. And I would always just be like, can you imagine if the fighting game was just, there is one character and there's nothing like interesting or special. And it's just like, we both have jab and kick and guard and throw. Like that'd be a little fun. It'd be a fun training exercise, but like
go play RPS Worlds, like That is
like,
it's just rock, paper, scissors at that point. What do you want?
Yeah, like it, and I mean the same with like anytime someone gets mana screwed and they're like, what if there was a separate deck of lands? And it's like, you are talking about, like, we're talking about the slow decades long process of the light leaving Magic's eyes. You are talking about holding a gun to its temple. Like, a separate lands deck is insane. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me about it. That's insane. You don't understand what is making this game fun. Like, if you want a game without variance, go play chess, go master chess. But you don't want that, right? Because you're not doing that. You obviously, some part of you, whether conscious or not, is enjoying the variance of it. For the same reason that I now desperately want to split a box of any Magic with Jerry is because there is the chance that I could win or lose. I think the chance I could lose is fun as fuck. That's why I like absurd bets. That's why the $500 coin flip is more appealing to me than the $5 coin flip, because losing $500 is so much more of a like, whoa, what the fuck, than losing $5. Like, at the end of the $5 coin flip, I don't care either way. At the end of the $500 coin flip, I care regardless. That's exciting. Yeah. That's cool. Yep. Like, it's like, what are those creatures in Hellraiser called? That are like, you ever seen Hellraiser? Hellraiser?
The pinhead guy?
Yeah.
I saw him like a million years ago, but I don't remember creature names.
Okay, so the Hellraiser people, their whole thing is like, they like live forever and are like immortal. So they get really bored and they start seeking out just like any sensation. Oh, so that's why, that's why Pinhead has like all of these like nails in his head, is because he's just like, hey, that's something, that's something I can feel. Bored. I got bored. Yeah, just pain. Pain is a feeling. And it's similar, it's like, oh man, I'm so bored of boring bets, but $500 could lose $500. That's exciting. But yeah, you don't really want a boring game with no variance, or you'd be playing that. And also, and this is the like sad copium that I think I see a lot of people who are processing this grief go through, which is they're trying to find a game that captures what they feel like Magic lost. And some games will capture some parts of that. You can go play Flesh and Blood for a while. You can go play One Piece. You can go play Gundam. These games are all fine, but these games are all also for profit. And a lot of what they're able to capture, they're going to be able to capture when they're really small. And as they scale, you're going to see the same shit happen to these games. Like, you are going to see the cycle repeat and repeat, because it is a problem of scale, and it is a problem of the nature of capitalism. And we are just not going to get a game that is such a labor of love that someone is willing to likely lose millions of dollars preserving it in a like beautiful, perfect state. Like, your game is going to fall to capitalism every time. And that sucks. And it's okay to feel sad about it. And it's okay to grieve it. It's not really okay to like be a piece of shit to Commander players about it, because it's not their fault. Commander players didn't make capitalism. No, they just participated in it. And so did you.
Maybe some of them did.
If you're a Commander player and you made capitalism, unsubscribe right now.
Yeah.
Let us pause, Warriors, take them out.
Pause the auctions. They're happening in chat right now. And it's their fault.
Go get those capitalist Commander players who made capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to blame Commander when I've been around for so long, where even before you could tell that a card was, it had very specific text for Commander, or it's probably designed a certain way because of Commander's existence. Like there were cards like Rhea Dawnbringer, there were cards like Mortal Kombat and Battle of Wits and stuff that was not just competitive minded. It was just like, what casual Magic looked like back then was so unfocused and weird, but like every set has had cards like this. So like, how is it the Commander player's fault? And I do think that competitive players were not driving sales ever. It was always the casual folks. It's just now they have all unified around this one thing. and they are easier to identify, and maybe they spend more time in your LGS now. Like you might know them by name, but like that's always been who Magic has been for and been about. And those have been every game needs whales to keep it alive effectively.
Yeah.
You know, like every mobile game that comes out is sustained by maybe 5% of the player base. And Magic isn't different.
No, I mean, again, for-profit game, but also, I don't know, I think it's interesting because it's very rare that you talk to someone and you're like, how'd you get started in Magic? And they're like, oh, I started in the competitive scene. You know, like I just started playing tournaments and that was my first Magic experience. Basically, everyone started playing casually, right? Like I started playing Magic in 2007. For the first like 10 years of me playing Magic, it was all kitchen table Magic. You know, like maybe I'd go to an F&M every once in a while, but like 95% of the Magic I was playing was just me and my friends putting whatever the fuck cards we wanted together. You know, there's no like, okay, guys, this set just came out, so we're going to stop playing with these cards that we own. You know, it's just like, oh, this set came out. Let's crudely jam that into the decks that we've been playing and see what that looks like. You know, like it's just a different experience. But that's what started, and that's like what captivated me. And a lot of those cards, like you said, were designed for players like that in mind, because I mean that's always been a bulk of the player base. And that's the thing that like I think competitive players forget a lot is like we are a niche of the community. Like we are a niche of the community.
But we're the ones who are on the internet posting loudly. So
yeah, we are loud as fuck online. How could we not be the biggest ones?
I'm not proud to admit this, Nile, but I did once play a 20-person game of Emperor in some dude's basement when I was definitely underage, definitely a child, and definitely surrounded by a bunch of creepy 40-year-old men. I didn't know anything else.
Oh my God. That's like in the top 3 worst things that a group of 40-year-old men could have done with you in a basement.
Yeah. I didn't go back. I was like, I like this Magic thing, but this is not for me, you know?
I just imagine like if I have a kid, he comes home one night late and I'm like, where have you been? I was in this guy's basement with a bunch of 4-year-olds. Oh my God, what happened? It's fine. It's fine, Mom. We just played a 20-person game of Emperor. I start bawling.
Yeah.
I break down.
You just immediately
I should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here if you need to talk, Billy.
Christ. We'll get through this. It's not your fault.
I could have used that therapy appointment.
Yeah. Clearly. But you know, like that's how we played. And also, it's not like when I was playing kitchen table Magic, it was like we only play 1v1. We played so much multiplayer Magic, and we would just kind of fuck around. Me and my friends just like started playing Star Magic before any of us knew Star Magic was a thing. You know, it was just like if you fuck around at the kitchen table long enough, you're going to come to conclusions like that. Like you're just going to be like, hey, there's 5 of us. Let's just play it where like these people are on my teams. And like, I'm trying to kill these people, you know, like it's, you just do. And like the game pieces support that. That's why the game is so cool. And also, and this is kind of like a game designy thing. We've thought about having like a whole game designy episode. So if you want that, Pause Warriors, activate, let us know. There's a lot of value in your game for there to be game pieces that suck. Like there's a lot of value to there being commons and cards that are shittier than other cards. And not just because of like, obviously for Magic, it's very helpful for things like limited because it makes this whole new environment and way to play that's really cool. But also there's just this thing of you let players build their own heuristics where you are able to look at this, you know, common vanilla 2-mana 2/2. And then you look at this mythic 2-mana 2/2 that has flying and hexproof. And you're like, oh shit, this card is better than this card. This I can tell. You know, and you kind of need that to be able to let your players start building a thing in their head of what to value in the game and how the game works and all of these things. And then they feel smart for figuring it out. They have the satisfaction of like solving the puzzle of your game. And that is a more fulfilling and satisfying experience than if, they just designed every Magic card, looked at them and said, let's just keep the best ones of each of these. And then you're like, all right, well, each of these cards is the best of what this card could be. Each of these cards, this is the best 2-mana creature. This is the best 1-mana creature. It is good to have little piece of shit cards in your card game. It's very healthy. This does not hurt the card game. This feels good for the card game.
Yeah, back in the day, they used to have things they called skill testers, which I think was a little bit misplaced. Like, do you know the card Chimney Imp?
No, I'm going to look it up. Hold on.
Yeah, go look it up. It's a 5-mana 1/2 flyer. It's not particularly strong. Yeah, cards that were just purposefully bricks, more or less, for what you're describing, so that players could have that like aha experience, like that learning moment. And I think that you can do it in ways that are a bit more subtle, or rather a lot more subtle. And that experience maybe becomes more rewarding for folks. And also, like, cards don't have to be like very bad just to be able to teach someone something. Like, I think now they are trying to make, like, certainly every card at like higher rarity, but like I think most cards that you would open in a booster pack, like appealing to someone and desirable for someone. And I think that is good. And that comes with the recognition that, like, there are going to be people who do many, many different things with their Magic cards and this rules engine and the game pieces and everything. And I think that they are trying to utilize like every part of that buffalo at that point. I do think that they are doing a good job in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really the thing is, we talk about how like there's a couple dozen people working on this game. Those people are fucking passionate and they're fucking good at what they do. Like some of the best game designers out there are working at Wizards of the Coast right now, making these cards. And I think the real tragedy of modern day Magic the Gathering is that all of these incredible designers are not given the time and space to make Magic truly incredible.
Yeah, what if instead of like accelerated timelines, we had maybe a slightly slowed down timeline? Or just like, how much time do you think you need to make this into a thing that you are ultimately very happy about shipping? I mean, the iteration process can literally go on for forever in game design, right? Like, at what point do you do pencils down? You're like,
eventually you do just have to ship it.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't ever just be like, oh, this is perfect. Like, a thing could always be maybe like balanced a little bit better, or you could integrate, some new like sideways strategy into the limited format or whatever. Like, you could do a million different things, right? So yeah, at some point you do have to pencils down, but certainly like, a 2-month timeline or whatever for dev is not very much.
Yeah, it is. It's basically zero. And, with a game like Magic, like a paper game, you have this added pressure of once you ship it, you have shipped it. Like, all you can do from that point is ban it. Like they don't print like retractions, like they will like errata cards or whatever, but like they're not going to be like, oh, we're going to ship out a new Orcish Bowmasters that works differently. They can do that in Alchemy, but they can't do that in paper. And this is a big advantage that digital games have, like in Marvel Snap, if they release a card that's too strong, they can just be like, oopsies, we're going to update that one. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, they have update things like every couple of weeks or whatever, which is very cool. But I mean, there's like a weird dichotomy there too, where it's like, well, maybe you don't even need to focus that much on getting it right the first time, which can kind of suck.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it completely changes the pressure and the incentives, because if you're working in a place like Marvel Snap, you don't have as much pressure to be like, hey, let's make sure this is fucking perfect when we ship it. You can be like, hey, we're unsure about this. Let's just try it. We'll fix it in a couple weeks if it's fucked,
Yep.
Magic doesn't have that, and Magic is releasing just an unprecedented number of game pieces fucking constantly.
Yeah, and mistakes are going to happen inevitably.
Yes. And I think if anything, one of two things is going to be happening as we continue to accelerate this timeline. One, actually both of these could easily happen. One, we are going to continue to see Nadu like every set. Like, we are just going to have these problem creatures that weren't caught because they didn't have time. to catch it. You know, there's too many. Like, they have to not only come up with all the cards and design them, they also have to play test them. And just consider for a minute just the number of cards they're putting into the game and the number of cards that exist and the number of formats they have to consider. And you can like start to appreciate how impossible of a task this is, and how like things that feel obvious to you whenever you're like looking on the internet and like millions of people have had eyes on it that aren't obvious to them in the moment. Things are going to fall through the cracks because the cracks are fucking enormous. So we're either going to keep getting Nadus at just a like 1 per every 0.7 sets rate or something, or we are going to see the design philosophy of Magic change to accommodate the accelerated timeline. And we're going to see them, and I think we already see this a lot, be way safer with the designs and way more conservative with the designs. And that, I think, is a detriment to the game. That is just boring. And the worst case scenario is we'll get both of those things.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, just like, oh, this set is like kind of underpowered and there's not a whole lot here that I want. But then there is this one card that is completely busted and obviously a mistake because oopsie. Mm-hmm. And I like when they're able to toe the line and it's like make a thing as like powerful and exciting and as fun as it can be without ideally being busted, without being over the line or frustrating or anything. And yeah, I mean, I feel like Final Fantasy is kind of a lot of that realistically, where there are cards that are like pretty exciting, but when talking about the Pro Tour and what sort of impact it is going to have on Standard, it's like, I don't know, there's 3 or 4 cards I like and not a whole lot past that. So it's disappointing.
It is disappointing. You know what card I think was a really good recent example of like finding the line of really cool, interesting, strong card that does not go too far? And I'm really interested. No. God, okay. No. I'm really interested to see if you agree with this or not. Psychic Frog.
Yeah.
I think Psychic Frog is like an excellent example of really strong 2-mana creature, really cool effects, very like insane flavor win, like flavor grand slam out of the park. Mechanically really fun, exciting, has a lot of different things it can do. But honestly, when it comes down to it, an easy to deal with card, you know, like it's not like the frog has like ward 3 or hexproof or like, you know, it's not like a frog comes down and you're like, fuck GG, you know, but it is like a thing you have to deal with and you can deal with. And I think it just makes games good. I think I love that frog.
Good incentives, put some interaction in your deck.
Yeah. I want more Psychic Frogs. I want less Nadus. And I want less, you know, just, hey, we weren't sure, we didn't have time, so we just hamstringed this card to play it safe. Yep. But we can't have that and also only have like 20 people working on thousands and thousands of cards.
Yeah, sorry that all your favorite Final Fantasy characters kind of suck, but we couldn't risk giving Terra a 4th toughness or whatever because of XYZ, you know, just like, all right.
Do you think there's any world where Yuna becomes the new Xur?
Yeah. I bought a bunch of Yunas last night, actually.
Yeah. My thoughts are Xur basically was a 5-mana creature anyway.
Agreed.
I do think it's interesting because there are parts of Yuna that are worse than Xur. You know, Ward 2, just not nearly as powerful as Hexproof. However, that shit just happening automatic for free, kind of sick.
I'm going to send you a deck list I was working on. It is 62 cards sent on Discord. The thing about the Yuna Xur comparison, though, is that it allows you to play just straight green-white if you want.
Oh my god, Yuna triggers beans. I didn't even consider this.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. This is sick. Yeah, okay. Well, I know what I'm playing in Standard going forward. Oh, so sick. Yeah, is this a deck list I can share with the public? Is this a Jerry secret?
Like, no, you could share it. Like I said, it is 62 cards. Please clean it up, you know?
Yeah. It is a in-development deck for sure.
Yeah, this was, well, so if you look at the screenshot on the deck box, it's the card that I added to the deck first, which is Overlord of the Balemerc. And then I was just like, oh no, we don't need
you don't need black at all, yeah.
No. So yeah, very much in development. I'm waiting until I draft a little bit more before I open my packs on Arena, and then I'll start playing Standard at some point.
Wow, so sick. Yeah, I'll make a deck list of this and I'll post it in the description so people aren't just like, what the fuck are they talking about? But it's a green-white standard deck with enchantments and Una. And beans.
Overlords and lockdowns and ultimas.
Yeah, very sick. But that's basically all the time we have for this. In summation, is magic dying? Well, it depends on what you define magic to be. Could be it is dying, could be it is dead, could be it is thriving. For me, the light is slowly leaving its eyes more and more every day, and I just have to accept that.
Yeah, magic is dead, long live magic, something like that.
Magic is dead, long live magic. Now, it is the part of the episode where we take questions. And if you want to send some questions in, you can send me an email at nilejoanrivers@gmail.com. You can comment on this video on Spotify, wherever, any way that you can reach us, Discord, Twitter, Blue Sky. We will see it and we will eventually get to the questions. But the one staple that we always have is a question from Briar Rosemary, our question giver, our goat, all of that. So here's our question from Briar, which I have not shared with Jerry yet. To open with a bit of a brag relevant to the question, she swears, I recently attended a small 22-person modern RCQ at my local store, with my only modern experience being jamming games with my partner. I was just going in for funsies with no big goals, but ended up sweeping Swiss before getting my first loss in top 8. I was on Boros Burn, and after winning my first game against my round 4 opponent, he said to me, Burn's a good choice for a small RCQ. In what read to me as slightly condescending tone. This read bolstered by the fact that he had a huge crash out after losing the prowess cutter mirror to my bestie the following round. Is there any truth to what he said, or was it all cope? Will folks at larger events be better prepared for Burn, or will they just be better players who won't fetch shock themselves for me?
Definitely more the latter than the former. I think right now, I don't care where you're playing. People are not prepping for Burn because very, very few people play Burn. So it is kind of just a waste of time unless you have like a very specific local metagame or something like that. So I don't think there's anything to like, like Burn is a good choice for a smaller event. That just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Because you could use the same logic to be like, oh, Burn's a good choice for a big event.
Yeah.
Burn's a good choice for an event. You know, like what are you talking about? I feel like end of match, condescending or not, well-meaning or not, people just feel like they have to say stuff.
Yeah, it is a time-honored tradition, but I feel like this is something of a person hearing a thing and then like kind of conflating its meaning, because I do believe there are deck choices that make more and less sense at specific types of events, but I think that is based less on the size of event and more on the pressures and incentives on that event. Absolutely. You know, like I think at like a RC, for example, you are going to be seeing such a wider spread of just like what are the best decks. And this is why I think stuff like, you know, it's not uncommon to see Merfolk top 8 events, but Merfolk does not do well in general. And it's usually because it is well positioned against the top decks, but horribly positioned against like everything else. So you go to this event where your odds of facing top decks are very high, and you bring this deck that's like a top deck killer, but crumbles to everything else, and you do well. But if you go to your local RCQ where people are like, yeah, the pressure's not really on, I'm just like a this or that player, you know, you get rolled and you just like can never top 8 your RCQs. But that has nothing to do with the size of the event. Like if the RC only had 12 people and those same incentives were on those 12 people, it'd be a similar boat, you know? So I feel like that is a thing where this person, you know, he knows that there are times where different decks make a different amount of sense based on the event, but doesn't quite like get why or what impacts that. So to answer your question, Briar, not really. Not really. Is there any truth to that specific thing that he told you? And then there's one more question. I need to pull it up real quick. Please hold, please hold, please hold.
Can't believe that men just be out here lying.
I'm just be out here lying on the internet. Oh, shit. Okay. Someone left a question on YouTube. Yes. This one is a pretty simple one to answer. So this is from someone named Scute Swarm on YouTube. And they said, hey, so I'm a newer competitive Magic player and love Limited. I've seen that there is some Limited in the Pro Tour. Is there a path in Pro Tour or other places where I can play competitive tournaments and only play Limited the whole way? Or will I be forced to play Constructed at some point? Now, here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about that, buddy. You could theoretically make it to the Pro Tour only playing Limited. This is presently possible. The path is not easy. There are not a ton of options for it, but there are things that come up. I mean, we just had the SCG in Denver where it was sealed Tarkir, and which ended up leading into draft Tarkir, and the top whatever, I think like 2 of that makes the Pro Tour. Top 8 makes the Pro Tour. Top 8 makes the Pro Tour. Does top 2 make Worlds, or is that just the RC?
Just the RC.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Top 8 makes the Pro Tour. So if you did that, you would get there just playing Limited. There are also limited RCQs. You know, places will hold sealed RCQs where the top 8 is a draft. And that could get you into the RC. Now, there are no plans, as far as I know, for a limited RC. So when you get to the regional championships, you'd have to play. But even if you get on the Pro Tour only playing Limited, once you're there, you have to play Constructed. So the Pro Tour is a mix of Limited and Constructed. You have to be able to do both to do well at the Pro Tour. So yes and no.
This is mostly bad news, but I have 2 pieces of good news. One is that the first 3 rounds of the Pro Tour are day 1's limited rounds. In theory, if you wanted to, you could show up with no deck, just draft and drop at the end of it. You could do that. I don't think sick. That makes a whole lot of sense. You're like, yeah, 3-0 drop. Tight.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
At MagicCon Las Vegas next week, they have sealed PTQs. At least a couple of them where you play like 8 rounds of sealed, cuts the top 32. Those 32 players split off into 4 different draft pods of 8, and winner of each of those gets a Pro Tour invite. So yeah, you could in theory do stuff like that. They have usually had, Spotlight Series, Grand Prix-ish equivalent. I think that is mostly being replaced by these now. But I think that this format is pretty cool. Like, you get to play in multiple tournaments if you want to. Like, if the first one doesn't go so well, you get to have another shot the next day, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Also, so far, I'm a pretty big fan of Final Fantasy Limited, so I'm excited to see how that shakes out.
I've been liking it too. Mardu guy rides again.
Yeah. I will say, and this is unfortunate because Two-Headed Giant is my favorite format. I think it is an abysmal Two-Headed Giant format for Limited. And I'll tell you why. It's because the little fucking wizards exist. And the little wizards have commander text. So Two-Headed Giant just devolves into, did your team open wizards? No?
They're all
GG?
black waltzes.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. And then there's also the Rakdos. There's like 2 different Rakdos guys that are like, make your wizards more fucked up.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's fine. They hate Two-Headed Giant and they hate me specifically. And I'm gonna have to curate my own Two-Headed Giant experiences to convince people that it's a fun format. But hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for leaving it. Thank you to all the pause warriors who paused the video to like, comment, subscribe, share with their friends, text their mom. Just send a little message to me and Jerry saying, hey, great job. You guys do a really great job. I really like your stuff. That's all great. We love you. We cherish you. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Jerry, for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Bye-bye.